Okay, guys, we're starting again. Now, our next speaker is coming here all the way from the UK. He's a speaker in the quite literal sense because he's not only an actor, he's also a voice actor. He's been working for Netflix, Fox, BBC, Channel 4, Lionsgate, even Legendary Pictures. And he's worked in 31 games over the past 12 months, amongst which Wolfenstein 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, The Division, and Ghost Recon Breakpoint. These are not from the last 12 months. I think I messed it up. Please welcome on stage, from the UK/US, Mike Bodie.
Thank you. All righty. Oh, good. I'm on. Yes. In a world where a man does a speech. Good. Oh, here he is. Great. Hi. My name is Mike. Hopefully, I will keep impressions to a minimum going forward. So my talk is called. I'm going to turn it over here because I can't keep going. So what am I doing? All right. That. I'm going to turn this way. My name is Mike Bodie. I work as a voice actor, and I trained originally as a classical actor in the UK. So my talk is called Again, But Better. I realize I'm too tall for the thing here. I'm getting my head in there. There we go. Great. Okay. This is the short version because generally it's an hour talk, but I only have 20 minutes, so I'm just going to cover kind of things that I think are really important for indies when they're looking for voice actors for their games. Who is this guy? Me, not him. We know who he is. Okay, so my name is Mike. I trained at Lambda, which is a drama school in the UK, as a classical actor. I work full-time as a voice actor in between my stage and screen work. I'm one of the founders and performers of the Olivier and Tony Award-winning theater company, Mischief Theater. If you don't know much about theater, that's cool. An Olivier and a Tony are the UK and the US versions of like Oscars. I've worked for Netflix, Fox, BBC, Channel 4, Lionsgate, Legendary Pictures. And I've worked on, I think, 31 games in the last 12, maybe 14 months. I kind of budge that a bit. From AAA stuff to two-person indie teams and lots of mobile titles. I own and I run an industry-grade recording studio at home, and I also work as an English language proofreader and copy editor for games and for dialogue and in-game text and that kind of stuff. Here's some of the stuff I've worked in. I can probably describe my roles as you've killed me, I've helped you kill other people, you've definitely killed me, I killed you and your friends, you definitely killed me, I gave you a quest and was a real asshole about it, angry Spanish man, various characters from Chinese mythology, and apparently I'm the lead, but I can't confirm that because they haven't told me yet. And then a bunch of stuff that I can't talk about either. Thank you, Mr. DiCaprio. So why have actors in games to begin with? Well, for me, relatable games need relatable things. I know it's crazy, but we all can relate to other people. And for me, sound is the first sense. When you're a baby and a little fetus in the womb, your eyes are closed, there's no light, you can't see anything, and you kind of reach out and touch stuff where you're like, what is that? I don't know. But loud noises, you get. Sounds you get, even as a fetus. And nature puts two fears into us, heights and loud noises. I would love them to do like Overwatch, like on a cliff. Just literal Overwatch on a cliff. And I know it's crazy but true, but there are actual people who pretend to be other people. We call them liars and con men. Actors. Yes, they're called actors. And having vocal audio increases the perceived production value in a game. And also, would Borderlands or The Witcher or Uncharted or Halo, would they sound the same if they're all silent? Like if Nathan Drake was just like quiet and just kind of like grimaced anytime like something like you want to do something. Should we go there? Why don't you say something? For me, a player's experience of a character in a game is they use two senses, your eyes and your ears. I mean, that's why there's such a premium on monitors, gaming monitors, and headphones. Like nobody goes, here's your gaming fork and knife, enjoy the game. It's like you don't taste the game. It's not like there's like Assassin's Creed, eau de perfume, or anything like that. You experience it with your eyes and your ears. And if one of these, and these are things that for me need to be sort of be given equal treatment and equal value, because as soon as they're not given an equal value, then one undercuts the other because it hasn't been given the same amount of attention. For example, we all know who this is. From a purely visual perspective, we can see that this is a very rough and tumble guy. He's got spikes on his gauntlets, blood on his sleeves, he's got more weapons to put a slaughterhouse out of business. He's covered in armor, he's got scars on his face, he's got great hair, and he's got crazy eyes. Now, we can tell a lot just from our eyes. Like if you put your hand over your mouth, plug your nose, and your hands over your ears, you can tell a lot of information just from the visual aspects of this. But all of this gets undercut if suddenly he sounds like this. It's like, hello there, my name is Geralt of Rivia. Welcome to the Muppet Show. Ah! It's like, Geralt of Rivia. Hi there, Miss Piggy. I'm going to slay your monster. It's like, it's not the same. So this is some of my advice on how to work with voice actors. I'm going to go into sort of basic price structures, how to find them, general kind of like handling of these sort of strange humans who pretends to be things for a living. So there are kind of two ways that in which, in my experience, of having actors in your game. You can either hire an outsourcing company who deals specifically with vocal audio and audio design, or you can find the actors yourself and hope that they can either provide their own recording studio or they have their own recording studio already. And there's benefits to doing both of these. I've worked in both ways previously. I don't have a preference of one or the other. In both cases, I still have to show up and do my job, whether I show up and do it in my office where my studio is, or I go into town and record in somebody else's studio. Either way, I'm happy with it. There's sort of benefits of doing both as well. So like an audio outsourcing company can handle sort of the casting, general administration. They'll supply the audio facilities, and they can help you organize all of your projects, all of your vocal audio, and all of the recording for it as well. When you go and find actors yourself to do it, you have to check whether the actor has their own studio set up, what kind of microphone they're using, how does that microphone and that individual function within that space, because me recording in one studio versus recording in another, even if it's on the same microphone and on the same preamp and the same interface, because of how the room is sized and because of the physical material that the room is made of, that's going to change the voice just ever so slightly. We're getting into like dark magic kind of like audio mixing engineering stuff, which blows my mind and I don't understand. Like somebody can like change something on the EQ and I go, wow, what did you do? Magic. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And then all of that audio will be sent from the actors from their remote locations to the audio team for them to then handle. So where do you find actors? My personal and professional recommendation of where to find actors is referrals. If you or anybody you know who works for another studio has worked with voice actors before, ask them who they know. Who did you work with on this game? We worked with Jeff, who lives in Germany. That's a very German name. It's not. And he was great, and he was wonderful to work with. Okay, great. If that actor is being recommended by a colleague of yours that you trust, that individual was probably a team player, somebody who could do the job well. And if they could do a job well, they can probably do it well a second time. If they're not recommended, then obviously don't work with them because they're not being recommended, obviously. Voice agents. I'm not sure how it works in every country in Europe for as far as the acting and voice acting industry goes. For me personally, I have a voice agent in the UK, and various clients will contact them and say, hey, we've got this game we want somebody to audition for. Who is tall, redheaded, sounds like they're in their late 20s, early 30s with an American accent that can do this voice. Oh, great, Mike can do it. Okay, great. Mike, go audition for this. Okay, fine, thanks, bye. And voice agents will have lists and rosters and names of actors who are on their books who can audition for projects. So you can call up the agent and say, we need someone to audition for this game. Tell your actors who want to do it to audition for it, and then we'll pick the best ones and liaise through you as far as getting them in to record stuff. You can also find the actors from your favorite games. If you love a performance from a certain actor in a game, because of social media and the wonderful world of the internet, you can now probably find them. And you can probably contact them directly. You can go on to IMDb Pro or Spotlight.com or find them on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram and say, hey, Jeff from Germany, we loved your performance in insert name of indie game here. We'd love you to come and do another performance in our game as well. And then if Jeff is a team player and he's cool, he'll probably go, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'd say that's totally viable. Like if you want Doug Cockle, who plays the English language version of Geralt of Rivia and The Witcher, you can find him. He's on Instagram. He posts lots of photos of his pasta for some reason. But he's just like, sorry guys, another photo of my spaghetti. It's like, thanks Doug, appreciate it. Like. Twitter. You can also do open casting calls on Twitter. I would caution, it's doable, but I would caution against it because it's the equivalent of taking your hand and sticking it into a tank full of piranhas. everybody and their uncle on Twitter is a voice actor, and everybody says they have great, wonderful experience, and I'm sure they've worked on wonderful games, but their performance might not be that great, and they might be overselling themselves, they might be padding their resume. You will find people on Twitter who are really good at their job, and you'll also find people who are really bad at their job, and they will all contact you if you do an open casting call. So it is doable, just be aware that you will be inundated with emails and responses if you do an open casting call on Twitter. Expos and conferences, as Victor said, where did it go? There it is. Put that down, I'd probably break it. As Victor said, there are, at all kinds of conferences, you can find voice actors. They'll probably be hiding in the corners or in the shadows waiting to strike, saying, you need a voice in your game? Hire me, see, here's my card. I do that. I'm the guy who goes around to all of the indie booths and all of the various games that are at the Indie Mega booth at Gamescom, and I'll go and I'll play the games that look interesting. I go, hey, this game looks great. I'd love to play this. Okay, they're going to have no audio whatsoever. It's all in silence. Perfect. I have no use here, but it was a great game to play. Or I come across a game and I go, hey, this is really cool. Do you guys need voice acting? Maybe at some point. Okay, great. Well, I'll drop you a line. Here's my card. I'll take your card. All right, have a good time. See you later. Bye. And that's how I go to conferences and that kind of stuff. So you can find actors there. Another thing I would personally avoid, but you can look here because I can't stop you from doing anything, is pay-to-play sites. So voices.com, Voices123, Bodalgo, this kind of stuff. You can find voice actors on there. The problem is that depending on the voice actor's level of membership within the website, they may or may not see your casting, because those sites will prioritize who has a higher membership level and who's paying more money up front in order for them to, so those castings might only go to a certain level of people who can afford it. Doesn't mean they're good, that's just they have money to burn. There might be the world's greatest actor who has a free membership, but they'll never see your casting, or they won't see it until like a week after it's been out, simply because they haven't paid for the membership. Pay-to-play sites are great for listening to demos of actors. You can type in pay-to-play website voice actor game demo, and you can find the actor who's got a great game demo. You can listen to it, and then you can always contact that actor outside of that site. Yes. Okay. Did I break it? No, I didn't. Okay, great. Cast actors early. For 95% of jobs as a voice actor, I'm always dropped in right at the end. The game is already good and ready to go, and you're just starting alpha, and then it's like, okay, great, so our wonderful character now needs to have a voice. Shit, where do we find them? Okay. And so then you have to go and find a voice actor. It's like you wouldn't get an environment artist or a speed tree license like during beta. Like that doesn't happen. Unfortunately, with voice actors, that does, because we're, as with a lot of things audio, we tend to kind of get dropped in right at the end of it. I think in most games I've worked on, it's like, great, so we're releasing in 4 or 5 months. It's like, okay, how long have you been working on this? 5 years. Like, couldn't have called me earlier. I've been here the whole time. Thanks, guys. But like I said, vocal audio needs to have the same level of treatment and same level of attention that anything else in the game would. But vocal audio tends to get kind of thrown in at the end because it's just assumed that the actor shows up, pretends to be somebody and does a silly voices and just makes it happen. Not always the case. Yeah, like any other part of development, audio needs an equal amount of treatment and attention. As far as directing actors go, there's not really a kind of a tried and tested way of doing it. It's like any other managerial and creative design or creative directing role. You're going to have your own quirks about doing it. If you haven't done it before, I strongly suggest hiring somebody who has, because it is a very specific and niche job within the world of voice acting. Is telling other people how to pretend is a very kind of specific thing. What do you do? I tell others how to do stuff. It's like, okay, thanks. It might be that somebody on your narrative team or somebody in the story design or one of the writers is actually a really good director. Obviously, that'd be something that you and your team would have to discuss and go, do we want Jeff to do the directing? He's only done voice acting. I don't know, get him in. Having done voice directing myself, I'm also a voice director over at Pinewood Creative Audio. from me coming from an acting background, my kind of biggest barrier was, I'm an actor myself, and I don't want to tell another actor how to do their job, but sometimes I do because there's only so many words I can explain to get someone to go, right, so I want you to say, hi-ya, but really loudly, but not too loudly that it scares kids, but loud enough that it's like you're sounding like you're swinging a sword, but don't move your arms because it shakes the booth, and we don't want to hear your clothes rustling as well, so can you go? And it's like, hi-ya? No, it's not a question, it's a period, so go ahead. And in some cases I have to go, no, so just do your version of this, hi-ya! Okay, great. Hi-ya. Great, perfect. Moving on. Client's happy. Listen to voice actors' demos. Different voices do different things. A voice actor with a lot of credits on a title might mean that they have a lot of versatility and they can do all kinds of voices. Maybe an actor who has one credit on a title means that they're an above-average actor and they can do a really great performance. So for example, on The Division 2, I have, I think, 5, maybe 6 titles on there. And a colleague of mine, a guy called Joe May, who has a really distinctive voice, plays Manny Ortega. He's kind of the quest giver in it. It's like, agent, you have to go and stop these guys. Okay, Manny, will do. And then you just shoot me in the face because I play one of the medics. Yeah, and some voices are great at doing really kind of subtle, well-rendered characters, and others are great at doing huge, over-the-top, cartoony things. Maybe an actor can do all kinds of accents, and then you have all of your NPCs filled out for a session, ideally, but not always the case. Or they might have a really singularly unique voice, like my colleague Joe May, and they might do a really wonderful, memorable character. And some people might be able to do things you wouldn't expect, like having a really old actor play a child, or a really young actor play somebody really old. I find that when doing auditions over Skype for voice acting, having the camera off is useful. Like, you wouldn't expect me to play rough and tumble angry man with a gun who's got medic stuff in the back, is gonna fucking kill you, agent, by looking at this, because I'm kind of like, I got a mustache and curly red hair, and I go, hey, how are you doing? It's not the same. I can play Geralt of Rivia, I swear. If you're casting for a character who has a very specific ethnic background, find an actor from that background. Whitewashing, which is casting an actor from whose character is not from the same background of that actor, can get you into a lot of PR trouble. Like, what was it? Nolan North playing Romeo in Halo 3 ODST. The character is supposed to be from, I think, Mombasa, but Nolan North is clearly a man from California who is white, and Romeo is a black man. There are plenty of talented voice actors from those backgrounds who can speak the language that you need. You just might have to look a little harder, but they are available. Particularly also if you're looking for somebody who has a specific accent for a character, let's say you need someone who's going to play King of England. You can find a British voice actor who has a voice that would sound like they were from the King of England, received pronunciation. It's called RP English. It's the same kind of English that you hear on the BBC news channel. If you can't find any, or you go, actually, we've got this really great voice actor, but he can do the accent really well, or she can do the accent really well, but you're not sure if it's perfect and flawless, then find somebody who can, even if they're not an actor, and go, hey, does this person, can Jeff from Deutschland, can he do this great accent? Yes, he can. Get Jeff in. And that helps with as far as if you need to check the proficiency level at it. Because there's plenty of people who go, I can do a British accent. It's like, great, which of the 47 listed British accents do you mean? I mean, technically, Glaswegian Scottish is British because it's in Britain. But they might be looking for Downton Abbey, not Braveheart. If you're worried about how much you can tell the actor, get them to sign an NDA, and then you can tell them anything. I was saying earlier, I went in to record for The Division 2. They showed me footage from The Division 2, and it looked great, and it was running on an updated engine, and it was wonderful. And then it had the title in the Division logo, but it said Hunter. That's like, guys, this is The Division 2. I have The Division 1. I played it the first time. I have all the DLC. I'm a ranked player. You don't have to kind of pretend that, like, well, he won't know what this is. It's like, yes, he will. And so I said, look, I signed an NDA. Can I tell you that I know it's Division 2? They went, can we tell him? I said, okay. Yes, it is the Division 2. Okay, great. Let's record. But that happens sometimes. I did a game that was announced at Gamescom. That I had no idea what it was called until I saw the trailer, and then I'm like, wait a minute, that's me. And rendered in beautiful CGI, in a AAA title from Tencent. And it's like, nobody told me I was in this. It's like, I'm the last person to know that I'm in this game that I recorded for. It's like, what's it called? We can't tell you. When's it out? We don't know. It's like, but it's going to Gamescom. Great. 99% of game leaks don't come from actors. Like, I'm not going to tell about a game that I'm doing and risk me not being hired by that studio. Like, most of them will, in my experience, and I could be wrong, come from other people who work at the studio who just kind of casually mention, yeah, I'm working on this title for Ubisoft. And it's like, really? No. Like, okay, but you just said. Or that they happen to know, or somebody knows somebody who's working there. If a voice actor tells about the project they're working on, one, they can be sued, depending on the contract and how hard the developer or publisher wants to pursue that. And it also means that they're probably not going to work for them again. I personally like job security because I like having a roof over my head. So I try not to talk about games and stuff, what I'm doing, too much. Although occasionally I go, I'm working on something really cool and I want to tell you, but please don't tell anybody. It's called a friend DA. This is the law of audio. You get what you pay for, as I'm sure a lot of people in audio will understand. A few nodding heads, thank you. I'm not the only one in the room. If I do a job in 30 minutes, it's because I spent 10 years learning how to do that job in 30 minutes. You owe me for the years, not the minutes. I'm going to talk about my experience with game audio pricing and my experience in the UK and some places in Europe. So game audio is always broken down into the hour. Sometimes people will go, oh, I'm going to do it by the word. That tends to be an American-based idea of doing game audio by the word. That's not really the case. Initially, doing game audio by the word is cheaper, but as soon as you start doing more words, the price goes up. Whereas initially, doing it by the hour is more expensive, but the longer you do it, it ends up being cheaper. And unfortunately, they don't kind of even themselves out by the word. So the word's kind of cheap, and then it gets real expensive. But then initially, with hours, it's expensive, but then the cost over time starts to kind of go down. It's known as in the UK, it's known as a BSF, which is a basic studio fee or a basic standard fee. And this is based on UK Equity's guidelines for voice performance in games. And it can range somewhere between 200 and 250 pounds, dollars, euros per hour. I'm personally flexible with my currency because I'd rather have a happy client than an unhappy client. Sometimes you can also do day rates. You can do half-day rates as well. If a session is over 4 hours, maybe the actor goes, actually, I'll reduce the hourly fee, so overall it costs less, but I actually get more time in the game. You get 5 hours of recording in the game versus then doing 1 hour and making your regular price. I'm actually in talks with a company in Croatia. They're an indie company putting together a demo, and they've got about 6 hours of recording. And I said, well, this is my rate. And they said, well, we got like 6,000 words. And I'm like, okay, well, that's probably going to be about around 6 hours of recording. And they said, well, this is our offer for the price. It's a lot less than what your hourly rate is. And I said, actually, that's 6 hours of me talking in a game. Hopefully somebody likes it. But that's a lot of exposure for myself. So I'm weighing up, okay, here's what I'm being paid versus how much kind of exposure I'll have in the game. And that's a lot of stuff I can draw from if I do a stream or I do like a game capture of me speaking. I can post it online saying, hey guys, look at this crazy scene where I kill myself in this game, but don't worry, I respawn. And I can always post that, so on and so forth. Audio production companies might have their own pay structures as well. They might be flexible with stuff. If your cast is recording remotely, they might each have their own individual prices. That would be something you have to negotiate with them individually, or you might just go, we've got a company rate. This is what we're going to pay everybody. And also, if an actor says, no, I can't do it because it doesn't match what I want, it might be that they have work already coming in that pays them what they do want. And it's a case of going, here's a job that pays me what I want. Here's a job that pays me slightly less. I don't have time for both. I'm going to have to pick the one that pays more because I have a mortgage to pay. And that simply just might be the case of, look, I can't do it because I'm too busy, and I got to take the one that's paid higher. I'm sure a lot of freelancers will appreciate that idea. In the UK, there's a thing known as buyouts. So if you are a musician and you write a song and it gets played on the radio, you would expect that you get money for every time that piece of music is played. With game audio and voice acting in games, what you get is a single payment, a one-time payment which covers the usage of that audio in perpetuity in various mediums that you've contractually agreed to. So as opposed to getting $1 for every time somebody gets a headshot, you just go, for every headshot ever and everything else you do, we're going to pay you this rate. And I'll go, or somebody will go, okay, great, that works for me. In UK copyright law, if I record audio for a game, I will always own that audio as the intellectual property owner for all of time. And the only legal way that a game developer can use the audio that I've created for them under their guidance is if they pay me a buyout fee, which is generally an in perpetuity licensing to use that audio in whatever medium that they want to. So for example, you can use it in the game, you can use it in advertising or in trailers, but obviously within advertising and marketing and trailers and so on and so forth, that would have to be agreed up front. It becomes an issue if somebody starts using audio that I've made for a game in a medium that it wasn't designed for. Like if I do a long monologue in a game and they go, great, we're going to take this monologue and we're going to stick it as narration for the trailer. It's like, guys, we didn't agree to that, and now that trailer is making money on YouTube that you're getting and I'm not because you're using my audio and you haven't agreed to that. Essentially, a buyout lets you use the audio however you want. Some other things to consider if you are, say, bringing actors to your studio to record are travel costs, reimbursements on-location accommodation. You might have to handle work visas or travel visas if they're from a country that doesn't have a relationship with the country diplomatically that you're working in. So, for example, I traveled on my UK passport to come to Bulgaria because I think I needed, I could be wrong, I could be very wrong, I don't know this for sure. I think I needed a visa if I traveled on my US passport. So I thought, well, this is a no-brainer, gonna go through with the UK one. Except I got it like a week ago because my other one went through the washing machine because I left it in my trousers like an idiot. And it has, and European Union removed on it. So it just says Great Britain and UK. I'm like, fuck you, Brexit. Also, if you have to rehearse, let's say you're doing a mocap shoot, a performance capture shoot, so you're capturing the movement and the audio of the actor, and you have to rehearse ahead of time. That's still the actor's time that they're giving to you because they can't go and work on something else. They are there doing work for you to help streamline the recording process when it arises. Same thing, you have to consider also doing facial capture, mocap, performance capture, using that person's likeness as well. And a question I get is, why does it cost so much? Unfortunately, the blunt answer is, it does. Like, nobody argues why a Ferrari costs as much. And Ferrari also doesn't do Black Friday sales. Crazy. As an actor, I'm technically unemployed 90% of the year. And anybody who's a freelancer will appreciate that as well, that for a lot of the year, you're not working. Like, I might get hired to go in to record for an hour in a job, but of those 24 hours, I'm only actually working for one of them. The other 23, I'm probably asleep or doing something else. But then at the same time, I also pay for thousands of pounds a year for either additional training, for networking, for keeping up my equipment if something breaks, getting it repaired, travel expenses, marketing costs, sending out emails. I might spend a couple hours sending out emails to everybody, but I'm not getting paid for that. Union memberships, I have to pay an accountant to handle my taxes because I hate taxes. And also, I might have to go to the doctor to get myself rotoscoped so that he takes a fancy sort of stick and sticks it down my throat and goes, you're perfectly fine. It's all in my mind. Psychosomatic. So essentially, being an actor is basically being a whole business unto yourself. Like, if I want a cup of coffee, I will go and make it and then wash up the cup. So I'm the CEO and the janitor. It's like, come on in. Well, the receptionist will be with you soon. Here I am. But good actors and people who are in work should be up for negotiating price-wise on things. Skipping right to the end. When you're done recording, don't be a stranger. Keep in contact with the actors. You can follow them on Twitter, on Instagram, and Facebook. You can send me a Facebook request saying, hey, Mike, you worked with us. Let's be friends. Okay, great. When the actor is able to talk about the game, even if it's before release or whatever, or on the day of release, just let them know that they can talk about it. Generally, I only talk about games once the game is released, but technically, my NDA for the Division 2 has not been rescinded. Like, I'm still technically under NDA for the Division 2, but it's already been out for a year. Millions of people have already shot me in the face, so I think it's okay by this point. When you're able to talk about a game, let's say you've got 2 or 3 actors in your game. Tweet at them saying, hey, we've just released our game and these great actors were in it. You should definitely check out their work in our game, because then suddenly your project gets linked with their accounts, and people who follow those actors but might not know about your game suddenly know about your game. And then it becomes increased digital real estate. Send them some merch if you have it. Send them a T-shirt. Send them a plushie or something. It's nice to get sort of a memento. Memento. I swear I can speak English. You have a memento from working on the game, or even just like a Steam or a GOG code. Like, you can keep the collector's edition thing that costs like $150. Like, I don't need Bayek from Assassin's Creed like slaying somebody. It's like, no, it's fine. I'll just get the Steam code is good for me. And it makes it easier for me to then get footage of games that I've worked in, because I can then go and record it, take that clip, put it on the internet saying, hey guys, look at this great scene that I'm in this game by this studio, and these wonderful people as well. And then suddenly I'm using my platform to connect to your game and then show gameplay from it, so on and so forth. Everybody's talking about your game, wow. Did I go forward? I did, good, great. Like I said, let them know when it's appropriate to talk about the game. Give them credit for the work, even mocap actors as well. Mocap actors often don't get credit for their work, which is silly. And check that the name is spelled correctly. For legal reasons, my name is Michael Bodie, but for my stage name, it's Mike Bodie, because it's faster to say. It's one less syllable. But HMRC and the tax guys like to know that I use my full name. Invite them to speak about their work at an event. If you're doing a chat somewhere at some event and they happen to be there, get them up on stage to chat about them as well. They can then tweet to all of their followers saying, hey guys, I'm doing this Twitch stream at Gamescom, you should definitely check it out. And then you suddenly have people watching that Twitch stream about your game that wouldn't have been there before because they didn't know, because they followed that actor, but they didn't know about your game. And suddenly they know about your game. And then you show gameplay footage. And then you show footage of the actor speaking in that footage. And then everybody's loving your game. Your game, your game, your game. Nominate them for awards if you think they're good enough, because they might be crap, you don't know. But nominate them for awards if you like what they did. It's PR for your game, and it's PR for them. Again, you start connecting all of these different platforms that you didn't have connection to before. Make an IMDb page. It can just be the basic stuff. It can just be like a title, a photo, when it came out. The actors, like strange kind of wolves and bloodhounds, will find your game and put themselves on the cast list. I did that for, I think, 3 or 4 of the games that I have on my IMDb page. And I'm like, I didn't know there was a page for this. I'm going to put myself on it. And I did. And now I have an extra credit, which is nice. But yeah, the actors will fill out this stuff. So you don't have to do a full kind of massive page on imdb.com. Here is a list of award schemes that include performance/voice acting titles. Pause for anybody who wants to take a photo. Nobody, great. One man, perfect, thank you. It was all worth it. So the takeaways from the talk are budget for voice acting early on. Don't get to the end of your financial shoestring and then go, we don't have any money for the voice actors that we want. It's like, okay, maybe we should have budgeted for that. Dropping in actors right at the last minute is tough because they might not have enough time to get all of the information of the story and of the beautiful world that you've made and all that kind of stuff. Thank you. I will stop talking in about 60 seconds. You might not have time to assimilate all of that, but give the actor the information, the mood boards, the sounds, the pictures of the characters. They can emotionally assimilate that and then deliver a performance which is more accurate and more detailed to the game that you're doing. If you just kind of go, show up and do some screaming for us, okay, it works, but it's not exactly what we wanted, then you're in trouble. There's no such thing as too much communication. Tell us everything. Obviously have us sign an NDA so we can talk to you about it. And if you're not sure, and if you want to tell us something but you're not sure you can tell us, just get us to sign an NDA. I audition at a studio in London called Side UK, and literally every time I go in, the first thing to go is, hi, you here for your 11 o'clock? Yes, I am. Please sign here. And they hand me an iPad with an NDA on it. I sign it. Literally every time I walk through the door, they go, sign this NDA, and then we'll talk. And be patient with your team and the actors. I mean, you've been working with your team for a couple of years, but then suddenly you get an actor in who you haven't met before. You might have auditioned them or just heard a demo, but it's the first time you meet them in person, and you've only got 2 hours with them. And you're kind of trying to expect that you're going to have a relationship similar that you've had over 2 years to all of the rest of your team in studio is a little bit not quite going to happen. So just have some patience because they're getting on board with all the information you're giving them for the game, and you are getting used to working with them as a person and a performer and all that jazz. And I think that's it. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
We have some time for some questions, if anybody has any.
Yes.
Hello. About the basic studio fee, does it include the buyouts or the basic studio fee it's not calculated with the buyouts? And how do you calculate the buyouts of the basic studio fee?
Basic studio fee so I've worked on some games where
For video games, yeah.
So I've worked on some games where they have calculated the buyout as a part of the BSF, or they've said we're going to pay you your standard fee, but we'll also include the buyout in that somewhere. So because they have they've written in the contract that the buyout is included within the fee that we're going to give you, and the fee is in quotes, so it encapsulates a lot of things. That's how some studios will get away with it, is saying we're going to pay you a fee as a part of your studio fee. So the basic studio fee is basically me showing up in the room for an hour to work. If they decide to just sort of play Candy Crush on the phone and have me not record anything, that's totally up to them. I'm available for them to work.
Yeah, but that means that includes the usage rights for the video games.
It depends on what the contract says. Generally, for a lot of the AAA games that I've worked on, the buyout fee will be separate, and that can range from $150 to $500, pounds, euros, that kind of stuff. So for example, I worked on Ghost Recon Breakpoint, that was at Side UK. They did the English language of Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3. Their standard rates are, because they're going through an agent, it tends to be their BSF is a little bit higher, so their BSF is 250 pounds and then a 500-pound buyout flat fee. So I went in for, I think, 4 times for Breakpoint. I had, the buyout fee was paid the first time I was in, but not the rest of the time, because they've already given me the money for as long as I do the recording for. So every hour after that was just $250, because they've already paid me for the first time, so that's fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hello. Honestly,
There you are.
Being a voice actor sounds like a lot of fun, honestly.
It
but
is.
I want to ask, has there been like a gig where they ask you to say something just so stupid that you're just like, come on, guys, why you gotta embarrass me like this?
Yes. I worked on a game for a Chinese developer, and they had, I know, right? They had the game, the language localized from Chinese into English. The problem is that it wasn't a native, it didn't have that kind of native flair to it. And so within the game, there were some silly things I had to say which didn't make grammatical sense. So I said them the first time because they said, no, this is what we got for the localized language. And I go, great, it's wrong, but fine, it's your money. And so I recorded that, and then I said, can I also, as an alternative, give you a different way of saying this? And they went, okay, yeah, how would you say it differently? And they go, well, what if we took out this pronoun that's not supposed to be there, make that singular, turn this into a contraction, and I'll say it like this. And so I did, and they go, oh, that's much better, we'll use that. I once worked on a game where I had to edit the script because they said, they had a character, like an NPC character, who was wearing a pink 3-piece suit, had a very kind of effeminate kind of stance about him, had a feather boa, and his name was Steve the Gay. And I'm like, what? And so I said, can we just call him Steve? Does that work for you? And they went, no. If we don't have Steve the Gay, the players won't know that he's gay. And it's like, does that matter? I said, well, no, not really. And I said, okay, well, the voice actor has been asked to put on an effeminate affectation. The character is wearing all pink. I think you're kind of signposting it here. And so I said, why is he called Steve the Gay? He said, well, in Chinese, that's what we would say, and that's accurate and accepted in Chinese. And they'll go, great. In the West, it's not. I won't get into the politics of it, but I suggest let's call him Steve and keep everything else. I said, well, how will they know that he's gay? He said, well, he's wearing a pink suit, a feather boa, and he stood outside a strip club. Call me crazy, but I think they'll get it. So let's take the name off. And so I think they did. In a patch, they updated it. It's just like, you're speaking to Steve. Great, thank you. Is the answer to the question. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Anybody? Anybody else? A couple of people.
Similar question.
Just a technical one, please. So when you record lines, of course, it's a lot of lines, a lot of files, so what's the format that you usually deliver your lines, like your recorded lines?
Yeah, so let's say I'm doing barks. So like, get down, move, he's on your 6, oh, I'm dying. That kind of stuff. That will be listed generally like an Excel sheet. So it will say, it will have the file name and convention. Sorry, turn the sheet around. It'll have the file name and convention, and then it'll have the line, and it might have a description, and it might have an alternative as well. So for me, as a recording process, it's good to get into a flow of that kind of stuff. So particularly if it's barks, which are quite short and kind of generally at the same kind of level, particularly in Division 2, we were just kind of rattling through lines like, he's on your left, he's on your right, he's in front of you, he's behind you, we don't know where he is, and all of these lines. I'll do probably 3 takes. The director will say, okay, select the third alternative 1. So that means that we're going to send the client the 3rd take, and then as an alternative, if they don't like that, we have the 2nd one as well. So it might be select 2, alt 3. Or they'll go, I don't like those 3 takes. Let's do another one, but like this. And they'll go, okay, so select 6, alt 4. Then let's say if it's a long piece of text, I might perform the long piece of text once, get notes from the director going, right, so we want more emotion at this point. We want you to kind of break down at this point into tears. I'm like, I'll do my best. And so then we'll kind of keep going through it until they're happy with it, move on, so on and so forth. Particularly if it's a long piece of text, I might have to take a breath, in which case I'll stop, take a breath, and then continue, so that then the audio engineer can go, there's no sound here, there's no sound here, lots of breathing here, snip, snip, take that out, glue it together, done. But yeah, so those ones tend to take a little bit longer because obviously there's more text to talk about. Did that answer your question? Do you have any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Amazing.
you very much.
Thank you.
I have more of a request. Can you answer the next question in the voice of Steve the Gay?
Steve the Gay. Sure, that's not a problem. I'm happy to. Oh, the next question, not your question. Okay.
That's spoiled for me, but nevertheless, in your practice, how does the studio work with you early in the process? Since a lot of features change, scenes got cut away, and if they want to record something later on, a new idea or something that requires new voice line, you might not be available anymore. So how is that doable?
So you would probably have to. Oh, I won't. Sorry. So let's say, I had this happen to me recently. So I am. Where am I going? I'm going somewhere. I can't remember. Oh, right. Prague. So I think I'm going to Prague in the end of April. But I was recording. I did a YouTube series called Angry Birds on the Run, and it was the birds come out of their phone into the world, and they're all plush characters, and they're all puppeted along. Apparently Rovio liked it, and they wanted a 2nd season. So they wanted to record the 2nd season of it at that time. And I said, I'm not free during that week. You want to record it? And they went, you're free next week, the week after. And I went, yeah, I'm free the week after. It might be that some actors just aren't available, and you may either have to decide, do we need this feature? Can this text actually be said by another character and have it still work? Or you might have to wait till that actor is free. So for example, in Red Dead Redemption 2, a lot of the scenes were done with, they might have used the same character model, and they might have cut the lines from that actor who would have said those lines because that actor wasn't free. So there might be somebody walking around in the background just sort of hanging out at the bar who's supposed to be a character that normally walks around the background and hangs at the bar and speaks to Arthur Morgan, but that actor wasn't free. So they cut their lines, gave them to somebody else, and they had another actor just do the physical performance, and then they they rigged it to the model of that character whose actor wasn't available. So if they're not available, you might just have to wait, or switch it around depending on what kind of time limit you're on. If it's like, we're releasing in a couple of months and we need to do it now, then you might have to go, it's not that important, we'll get the other guy to do it. It happens.
Thanks, we only have time for one last quick
Yeah,
question,
sure.
right back there.
Hi. What was the weirdest voice that you did? And do you maybe also do animals?
I can do some animals. I'm okay with creatures, kind of sort of beast, dragony thingies. It's quite painful, but I can sort of do it for just about long enough that it's okay. Weirdest voice I did, not so much weird, but one that I had to do for a really long time. I did the narrator for Dragon Quest Monster Battle Scanner, which is only available in Southeast Asia because it's built into an arcade machine. And so what you do is you put your dollar in, you play, you get a card which has a monster on it, and you would scan it with this dragon head scanner, and then you can get your character in the game. It's like rocking up with a whole set of Pokemon cards and going, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur. Okay, they're all in the game. And then you play with them. So I basically had to do this kind of like 1920s announcer man the whole time. It's like, and he's winding up for another take, and he gets a huge hit to the face. Oh, this is amazing. I've never seen anything like this. But I had to do that at that level, if not higher, for about 4.5 hours, sometimes 5. And I did that about 6 days in a row. Sorry, I did 5 days, and then on the Monday as well. So by the end, I'm having, at some points, just having to be like, hang on, I need painkillers. I'm taking more ibuprofen than I need to. Okay, fuck it. The game's more important. Fuck my liver. So that was probably one of the more challenging ones, was keeping that high intensity and this voice that's always up here the whole time for long periods of time. But yeah, that's what I got.
Thank you so much for the lecture and
Thank you.
slash performance, Mike Bodie. Now, again, we just need a few minutes to set up our last speaker today, but don't go anywhere if you're fans of Stalker.
If you like Stalker, stick around.